Welcome to the Iditarod. I'm Michelle with Michelle's Gateways, and we are in beautiful Anchorage, Alaska for the start of the last great race. Let's go watch and have some fun.
My name is Hugh Neff, born in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and grew up in Evanston, right outside of Chicago. Yeah, a few weeks ago I won the Yukon Quest, another 1,000-mile race by 26 seconds.
26 seconds.
Yeah, it was a little close, but it took me a while, but I did it in style.
Fantastic.
Well, I'm hoping my team's going to win. I'm just enjoying the ride. You know how it goes. We're all a team. It's just not me. It's the dogs are the main ingredient, and I've got some of the best dogs in the world. The team is, we call them Annie's Army, and she's the mother of a lot of the pups, and as well as her brother Walter is the main, guy. They're both 7 years old. And we also call them Annie's Army, and we also, for the boys, we call them Walter's Warriors. And so we have two names given by my fans, and they're a pretty special dog team, and I think I have an even better team than I had for the Quest. And so I'm looking forward to getting out there, and a lot of great mushers in this race, so everything just has to sort of come together, and hopefully it does for me.
Okay, so show us the race you like. What is the route that you go on during the Iditarod?
Well, the favorite part of this race is getting the heck out of Anchorage and getting on the trail. A lot of us actually prefer the northern route just because it is a little bit, for a guy like me, I've got sprintier, faster dogs, and you have a little bit flatter area when you're up on the Yukon River. The tougher part of the race is usually right here in the beginning, actually, when we're going over to the gorge by the steps. Once we leave like Rainy pass, and then we have to drop straight down into Roan, and that's a lot of twisty stuff. There's actually a creek that we're going in and out of, so it's almost like being a skier, but you got 16 dogs pulling you, so it can be a little bit dangerous.
And it's pretty steep, huh? This looks pretty mountainous.
Oh yeah, we're dropping thousands of feet within 20 minutes.
Do you pick up speed? Is there a point where the dogs can't?
Oh yeah, you're on that drag. We have a brake drag that we're on really hard trying to slow the team down.
I see.
And then once we get into here, the interesting part is there's no snow at all. So that's going to be all dirt for hours.
Even right now with all the snow that's been falling?
Alaska has a very interesting weather patterns, and there's lots of snow in this area, in the bowl we call this area. But once you get out of it, the burn, which is a big old forest fire went through there years ago, the Farewell Burn, that's all dirt so we'll be on that for a couple hours, and then we have a lot of glare ice on these lakes we have to cut across. There's probably a dozen or so lakes. And then
a dozen lakes, wow.
Yeah, well,
they're frozen.
That's the funny thing about Minnesota, they say Minnesota is the land of 10,000 lakes. Alaska has millions of them. So, Alaska really is its own great land. It's massive. And then once we, get into the heart of the race, the dogs start to get in a sort of a nice momentum. They know what's going on. That's the beauty of my team is they're all veterans, basically. And I call them veterans with attitude because they know where they're going. It's a big advantage in dog mush and know what you're doing. And so, for me, having lived on the Yukon River, like my buddy Joe Runyon, getting back to where these dogs came from is... You can feel the ancestry of the dog's lineage. And so when I can get Annie and the team through the hillier part and get to the river, that's when the actual racing really, I think, we break away from the main throng of mushers, and then you're going to get down to the top 7 to 10 teams. What's interesting about this race is the warmest part of the race is right now. This race is actually going to get colder and colder as you get towards Nome, because obviously you're heading north. And we're getting out of the trees. So by the time we get to the coast of Alaska, it's like being on the moon. There's no trees. You can look in any direction, and all you're going to see is white, basically. And for a kid from Chicago originally, you can imagine when I first started doing this, it was pretty scary, but I've got dogs that know where they're going, so now it makes it a little bit easier. But it's also more difficult to win because the guy that won last year, my buddy John Baker, he's from that area. His dogs are coastal dogs, and having a dog from the coast, and it's a hardier type of animal. They're a little bit thicker, old-style husky, and I actually bought a bunch of dogs from him just because I'm trying to get his lines. And we actually will do that with guys that we get along with or respect. We'll actually swap out dogs or buy dogs from each other. And John knows I'm all about promoting the native lifestyle, and so that's why he's been nice to me. But that's the funny thing about these guys is my nickname's Huge Mess. People are used to me not winning, but now that I finally figured out,
Huge mess.
Yeah.
But you won. Now you're not.
Yeah, I'm the huge mess that's ahead of everybody.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right.
I'll stick with that nickname if they want to keep calling me that, as long as I'm sitting there waiting to shake their hands at the finish line.
Right.
But that's the toughest part of the race, though, is the coast, because when there's no trees, we call blowholes, windstorms, blizzards, and it can be brutal. That's when you're.
How many miles an hour winds do you have?
50 to 70, somewhere in there. Some years we can't move. You have to hunker down and just wait it out because it's brutal. I mean, some years it'll take you twice as long just to go 10 miles.
How many miles do you average in a day? How much can you get each day?
Average 120 to 150, somewhere in there. Obviously, it slows down a bit as you get going. The dogs aren't going to keep up that pace forever, but that's the main part to racing, is trying to keep that energy for as long as you can. That's how you win these races, or do well in these races, is by slowing your team down in the beginning, and by putting your foot down and letting, maybe you're not going to be in the top 10 or 15, but by keeping a bigger dog team, you're going to be able to go farther. And that's what we're doing nowadays, is we're not actually going as fast maybe as 10, 15 years ago, but we're actually going a lot farther, and we don't have to rest as much because the dogs aren't as tired. That way, if you're slowing down the team, you're not going to have as many dogs that are going to get tired. You're going to have to drop in checkpoints. So that's the whole key to this racing, is having good dogs, know where they're going, and just being one, not only with your team, but most importantly, really, with Mother Nature. And that's one thing I've learned through the years, thinking I'm Mr. Tough Guy, I can deal with anything she gives me. It ain't like that. Yeah, we're all human, so sometimes in life you gotta...
Human and dog.
Yeah. Mostly dog on my part.
Mostly dog.
2,000 anywhere to the $2,000 bid. 2,000, $1,000 bid. 2,000, 3,000,
He's not here? All right.
I've got $2,000 a bid. $3,000
We can go over to Hugh and see if Hugh's there.
$500 bid anywhere. Who at 35? 35 to 35.
Where are the mushers? They are hard to spot. Let's go see Hugh.
Anywhere, I've got $3,000. I've got as far as I can go.
That's wrong.
A lot more than that, and you're going to be sorry you missed this one. I got 3,000.
Hugh's here.
3,500, 4,000 way in the back. 4,000 once, way in the back. It's your last chance. 3,500 up here. 4,000 twice.
And I do.
4,000 anywhere. Hold on. 4,000.
Facebook.
4,000 anywhere.
My friend from Wisconsin said, tell Michelle to make a reality dog mushing TV show.
I would love to do that. We were just talking about that, actually. We would love to do that.
Yeah.
Someone else was just telling me, Mike, the other musher.
Blown away.
No, I'd love to do that. So maybe next year we'll plan it and we'll do it.
Oh, it'll be. Nobody has.
Can I ride on your sled?
Sure. No. Nobody has as bizarre a life as some of us mushers do. That's for sure.
No, I would love to see it. I've always been fascinated by it, and I would love to do that. So maybe we'll have to do it next year. Would I have to have my own sled and follow along?
Oh, I'd make sure you'd wipe out eventually.
That's not very nice of you.
I got to break you in, You got to know what it really feels like.
Do you wipe out often?
Every once in a while. The whole key is don't let go, or else you're walking. Those dogs don't know how to stop that well.
So what if you need to stop? What do you do?
We have brakes and we have a snow hook that we put in the ground. Yeah.
How many pounds of force are they pulling you when they're pulling you?
Depends on their energy at the moment, but basically we're just like a little rag doll holding on for our lives. They get a lot of power, and with those girls up in the lead, they tend to have a mind of their own a lot of the time, and so I just hope they like me that day.
Us girls like to be in charge. We like to take charge.
Yeah, I've got many divas in my team. I think that's why I do so well.
How many girl dogs do you have?
About 5 or 6 in this team.
Oh, wow.
And we rotate them around. You have lots of leaders, but my main leader is a girl named Annie, and a lot of the pups in the team are all her pups, so she's my main woman.
Awesome. Well, good, Annie. I look forward to meeting her at the race day.
Yeah, she's special. She's a sweetheart. Very well known in Alaska.
So the bib numbers you're waiting to get, the bib numbers dictate your placement in line at the start?
Yeah. And
it's just lottery or what?
No, we pick out of a hat.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And we're hoping this year with so much snow that it's nice to try to pick early number. Just a better trail that way.
Well, I wish you luck, and we'll see you at the race start.
All right, Michelle.